היי ישראל, ערב טוב לכולם. היי לורן.
Hi, shalom.
Shalom, good afternoon.
ערב טוב.
Good evening to Israel. So, ערב טוב לכולם, לא ניתן להצליח עם אנחנו היום נדבר הערב עם לורן לוקמן, שקצת אני אציג אותו. לורן לוקמן הוא המובילים בעולם בבריאות הטבעית. הוא יעניק לנו את ההרצאה שלו על הניקוי איך למקסם בעצם את התהליך ולעשות אותה כחוויה משמעותית ומלמדת. לורן הוא מייסד ומקים את חוות הצומות בקוסטה ריקה. הוא סייע לאלפי אנשים ביותר מ-135 מדינות ברחבי העולם. בן 59, טבעוני יותר מ-28 שנה, מאסטר רייקי, משורר, מחבר ספרי ילדים, והוא פיתח את שיטת יצירת הבריאות המושלמת. Lauren, it is great and pleasure to have you here tonight, and the stage is yours.
Well, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here with you. Erev Tov to those of you in Israel. I guess that's many. And I hope everyone's doing well. We're going to be talking about fasting, and we don't have so much time given the scope of this topic. So I'm going to jump right into it. Many of us are familiar with short fasts. Probably much of the audience grew up observing Yom Kippur. I did, fasting one day a year. But not so many people around are familiar with therapeutic fasts, with fasts that are longer than that. And typically, what I'll be talking about primarily, I mean, I'm actually familiar with a whole range of fasts, from so-called juice fasting, which we won't be talking about today, to intermittent fasting, which I've been practicing for 27 and a half years now, eating within a 4-hour window each day, 1 or 2 meals a day, and as well as therapeutic fasts, which are typically here 21 to 30 days, but have ranged as long as 4.5 months. And to be absolutely clear, I'm talking about fasting on only water. Nothing else, no food, no supplements, no juices, just water. Can the human body go that long? Well, it depends. When people are wealthy in nutrient reserves, that is bigger, yes, they might be able to go months. Most of us have a 6 to 8 week reserve. So even people who are relatively healthy weight, I'm fighting with a cat here who's quite needy, even those people typically have a 6 to 8 week reserve. And that means that done properly can safely go 6 to 8 weeks and not only be okay, but actually be a lot better off. So to start off, because again, I probably have already lost a few people who are going, this guy's crazy. What is he talking about? Going weeks without food. So far, in the 23 plus years that Tanglewood, my center where I am right now, has existed, we have guided thousands of people through fasts, averaging 26 days. We've had more than 400 hypertensive clients. Now, hypertension and type 2 diabetes, these are both conditions that medicine says are incurable, that if you have these conditions, you're going to be medicated for the rest of your life. There's no way to cure them. We've worked with more than 400 hypertensive clients, that's high blood pressure, and more than 80 type 2 diabetics, and 100% of them have been healed completely. You want to?
Yes, so, אז לורן בעצם מדבר על הצום, שבעצם כמו שאנחנו יודעים ברוב הדתות יש לנו צומות, גם אצלנו היהודים. הצום שהוא מדבר זה צום של מים, זה לא צום לא לאכול בכלל, אנחנו רק בעצם צמים מאוכל ושותים רק מים במהלך הצומות. האברג' בעצם הממוצע של הימי צום שאנשים הולכים זה בין 6 ל8 שבועות. הצומות שהוא מדבר שאנשים בעצם יכולים, שהגוף כבר יכול לרפא את עצמו, זה 26 יום.
Wow, Liraz, fantastic job translating. I don't have any idea what you said, but I trust you know what you're doing. Yeah. Okay, so the body is incredible. And I think, maybe coming back to what maybe should have been the first thing, as a starting point, usually when I'm talking about fasting, it's important to understand something. It's important to understand that like every organism on the planet, there's 25 million animal species, it's estimated. I don't think anyone's counted each one yet. Most of them are insects, but virtually every species out of 25 million, when sick enough or badly enough injured, will lay down and stop eating. Okay? Fasting is nature's way of letting the organism heal itself, cleanse and heal itself. So detoxification or healing both happen at an accelerated rate when fasting. Why is this? What's going on there?
בעצם אנחנו יודעים שגם בטבע בעלי חיים בעצם ברגע שהם לא מרגישים טוב או שהם אפילו פצועים, הדבר היחיד שהם עושים אוטומטית, כי זה מה שהטבע דורש, זה להפסיק לאכול ורק לשתות. בדרך הזאת בעצם הגוף מרפא את עצמו. אז עכשיו, לורן, go ahead, why is that?
Well, so there's two primary things going on. First of all, processing food through the body from this opening to the southern exit point is the single most energy intensive process that the body normally engages in. So when we've got a lot of energy tied up in processing food every day, there simply isn't much energy available for the body to cleanse and heal itself. Okay, so this plays a significant role. The idea is that we liberate energy so the body can use it to cleanse and heal. That's the first piece.
Okay, so just to clarify, so because when we're eating processed food, the body is busy to cleanse all the processed food instead of to heal the body, right? Well,
when we're eating normally, even eating fruit and salad, even eating the very best diet possible, right? And we're not going to have a lot of time to talk about diet, but some of you already know this. I'm coming up on 29 years eating only fruit and salad, okay? Nothing cooked, no animal products, nothing processed, fruit, mono fruit meals, simple green salads. That's what belongs in our body. Even when we're eating the perfect diet for our bodies, we're still using much of the body's energy, most of the body's energy every day in processing food. So there's not a lot of energy available to cleanse and heal. That's even with the best diet. If we're eating the way most people eat, now it's much worse because now the body has all the garbage coming in addition to the normal work of processing food. We've got to try to out-process the garbage from the food before we can start to deal with whatever was already there, right?
Yes, okay. So, אז הגוף שלנו, ברגע שאנחנו אוכלים את האוכל הרגיל, גם שהוא האוכל הכי בריא, הוא תמיד בפעולה בעצם להקל אותו, והוא לוקח מאיתנו את האנרגיה. ברגע שאנחנו בעצם צמים, האנרגיה מתרכזת בלרפא את הגוף עצמו, במקום בעיכול שלו. בגלל זה צום במהלך מחלה או אפילו פציעה, הוא בריא לגוף, כי אז כל האנרגיה שיש לנו הולכת לריפוי.
Okay, the second part is it's fascinating because it turns out that when we stop eating, there's all kinds of physiological changes that occur. And so I actually call this fasting physiology versus feeding physiology. When we're eating, normally most people, their whole lives, most people are in feeding physiology. But when we fast, there's a whole beneficial cascade, a whole range of things that happen one after the other. And just to give you a sense of what I'm talking about, we won't go into all the details because I don't think that's really important. But for instance, human growth hormone, which is called the youthing hormone, is secreted in high levels when we're fasting. It takes about, well, it's increasing, but we reach this point at about 18 hours without a meal where we've got high levels, quite high. And it continues to increase for several days, and then it stays at fairly high levels. And this is called the youthing hormone. So it's interesting because, I'm guessing your audience, those of you listening, probably range in age from most likely early 20s, maybe on up to 70s, 80s, perhaps even older. And people in their 20s might not be too concerned about aging right now. but anyone in their 40s, 50s, 60s, or 70s probably is. I'm guessing beyond 70, you're probably going, yeah, screw it, doesn't matter, it's too late. So one of the things that we've discovered in the last 10 or 15 years is that there is our DNA, right? Genetic information is a double helix. It's a spiral. So there's an end cap which is called a telomere on each of these strands of DNA, which prevent it from unraveling. And when we're born, it's long. And as we age, as we go through life, it gets shorter and shorter. Okay. Now, if we eat poorly, drink alcohol, exercise to excess, use drugs of any kind, including pharmaceuticals, which are always toxic to the body, all of these, don't get enough sleep, all of these things shorten the telomeres. Okay. And they say there's a direct correlation. The length of the telomere reflects how long we have to live. Okay. Fasting takes those shorter telomeres and makes them longer again, more effectively than anything else. Okay, so there's one example. We're literally growing younger by fasting, okay, by rejuvenating the body. Lorez, I can't hear you.
Now you can hear me.
Now I can hear you.
אוקיי, אז בעצם ברגע שאנחנו צמים ונותנים לגוף שלנו את המים, אנחנו נותנים את האפשרות שכל העניין של הצעירות, של הזקנה, במקום שהיא תתקצר, המים בעצם מחיים ונותנים לנו אפשרות להאריך את האורך חיים של ההורמון הזה, שבעצם אנחנו מחיים אותו במהלך הצום ונותנים לו את האנרגיה שהוא זקוק לה. אוקיי.
Okay, so this is another example of an amazing thing that happens. Now, in 2016, you're probably familiar with the Nobel Prize. Nobel Prizes are given away by the Nobel Institute in Stockholm, Sweden, and they give prizes in different areas. And every year there's a Nobel Prize for medicine. And in 2016, 4 years ago, the Nobel Prize for medicine went to a Japanese PhD named Yoshinori Ohsumi. And Ohsumi has spent the last 25 years studying a phenomenon called autophagy, which autophagy comes from the Greek auto, self, phagy, eat, self-eat. And so autophagy is looking at the phenomenon of the body is illuminating, consuming, and getting rid of the garbage that it doesn't want. Okay? What Ohsumi realized and talks about in his work is that, and it's funny because in medicine science, they'll talk about starvation. The absence of food is starvation. That's not accurate. Fasting is not starving. But what he says is that autophagy is much more effective in starvation when we're not eating. Okay, so when we fast, the body has a much easier time getting rid of the garbage. Okay, this is what happens. A woman I'm fasting with now had no idea that she had any parasites. She's never eliminated a parasite in her life. She's never seen one. Twice in the last week, she's had parasites leave her body through bowel movements. Okay, her body is now expelling parasites as a result of fasting 21 days. This is what happens.
Okay. אז בעצם ברגע שאנחנו צמים ונותנים לגוף שלנו את האפשרות לנקות את עצמו, שזה בעצם לא להרהיב את עצמנו, אלא לתת לעצמנו את הצום שהוא זקוק לו. הגוף בעצם פולט את כל הרעלים. הוא מספר פה על מישהי שגם סבלה מזבל שהיה בגוף שלה, היא אפילו לא ידעה שיש לה את זה, ופשוט במהלך הניקוי שהיא עשתה, של הצום של המים, הגוף פלט את כל הרעלים כביכול, והזבל שהגוף לא היה זקוק לו.
Did I really say that? Okay, so there are two examples of some of the kinds of things that happen, but it's really much broader than that. And I'll give you a quick example. You know, we talking about examples again. This hour is going to go by. This will be the fastest hour you've ever experienced, I promise you. So many years ago, probably 20 years ago, roughly, I had a remodeling accident. Okay, I used to do a lot of my own remodeling work. I used to buy and renovate houses. I mean, the first one I rebuilt myself, and then I thought, this is fun. It'd be even more fun to hire a contractor and let them do the work. So that's what I did. But on the first one, I was working on this renovating this stairwell to the basement, and I'm standing on a kitchen stool which swivels and rocks, and I had stuff on the floor, so it wasn't even stable. And I leaned out too far and kicked the stool down the stairs, fell down the stairs, and my left wrist came down on a stack of metal material, which has has a very thin profile like a razor blade, and it was standing straight up. My left wrist came down on it, bounced, and came down again, and I severed one of the arteries to my hand. There are two arteries that feed our hands. I severed one of those arteries in two different places. I also severed all the flexor tendons, the tendons that allow me to do that, flex my fingers. I severed them all in two places. I severed all the nerves to the side of my hand in two places. And I spent 5 hours in surgery. The surgeons told me the next day that although things went well, it was entirely possible that I would never have full use of my hand again. Okay, I might never be able to use it, and that it was going to be at least a year of physical therapy. He sent me to a man named Sam, whose business was called Hand Rehab Services. He only worked with hand injuries. Okay, he had a lot of experience, 27 years of experience. And he took a look at it and read the medical reports and looked at all the pictures and everything, and he said the exact same thing. There's no guarantees you're ever going to have full use. You're going to be working with me for at least a year. I began fasting immediately. The first thing I did at the accident was I stopped eating, okay, for a couple of weeks. I want my body to put all of its energy into healing my wrist. 7 weeks later, 7 weeks and 1 day after the accident, Sam says to me, I don't know how to explain this. I've never seen this before in 27 years, but you're done. You don't need to come back. You're completely healed. So they had started out 2 experts in hands, okay, because the first guy only was a hand surgeon. These first 2 experts tell me you might never heal completely, and it's going to be at least a year to get you there. And 7 weeks later, it's completely healed. Why? Because I fasted, because my body put all of its energy into healing. We see things healing all the time that people are told can never heal, okay? Our bodies are amazing, magnificent, virtually infinitely intelligent. The key is that they need the conditions and opportunity to be able to heal. They can't do that when most people are eating and living their life normally.
Yeah. אוקיי. אז לורן לפני 20 שנה בעצם חווה תאונה בבית. הוא נפל מהמדרגות ושבר את הרצועה של היד שלו. לא הייתה לו אפשרות אפילו להניע אותה, לקפל אותה. הוא עבר ניתוח של מעל 5 שעות, שאחרי זה במהלך השנה ביקשו ממנו לבוא לעשות פיזיותרפיה. הוא כמובן, הצעד הראשון שהוא עשה, נכנס לצום. אחרי 7 שבועות שהוא הלך לרופא, לפיזיותרפיסט, הוא הודיע לו שאין לו צורך בעצם להגיע, כי היד נרפאה. התשובה לכך בעצם, כמו שהוא אומר, שהגוף שלנו, ואנחנו יודעים את זה שהוא מכונה מדהימה, הכי אינטליגנטית שקיימת, והיא יכולה לרפא את עצמו ברגע שאנחנו ניתן לה את הכלים ואת ההזדמנות לעשות את זה. וזה מה שהוא עשה, הוא נתן לגוף שלו פשוט לרפא את עצמו על ידי צום 7 שבועות, הוא לא הכניס כלום לגוף ונתן לגוף לרפא את עצמו באמצעות המים.
Okay, so now further, I mean, there's so many things that are going on. What's happening in the body is truly amazing. But one of the things that happens is we rebalance the body. Now, unfortunately, the way most people live, and that is to say, we grow up eating our conventional diets, whether the diet is the conventional American diet in the US, or the conventional Israeli diet, or the conventional diet from any one of the countries around the world, I mean, I don't know of anyone, any country whose cultural diet is exclusively made of things that actually belong in the body. You know, whether or not you realize this, cooking food destroys nutrients and creates toxins. So the average body is constantly having to deal with the toxicity created by simply eating what most people would call a healthy diet. Okay, they're having to deal with that.
Yeah. Okay, you can go on, and then I will.
Okay, so eating the way most of us ate most of our lives, or the first part of our lives. I mean, for me, it was the first 30 years of my life. I'm now in my 30th year eating this way. So, you know, within 11 months from now, I'll be able to say half my life I've been eating the way I do now. But the first half, I ate the way most people do, more or less. So the body has to rebalance itself. There's going to be a lot of things out of balance because of what we do. That's just what happens. And so how do we correct that? Well, fasting allows the body to correct itself. We were talking, Laraz, you and I, about hormones. You know, hormones are out of balance. What hormones? All of them. I mean, hormones basically are controlling, signaling to the body what needs to happen. So hormones are created throughout the body depending on what they're doing. They're created in different places, but they're how the body maintains balance in every way. And when the hormones are out of balance, nothing works. So, you know, I mean, most people think of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. These are hormones people are aware of. Some people may not realize that insulin is a hormone. And without proper function, we can't manage blood sugar very well. This is why people develop diabetes. There are so, you know, the thyroid gland. It's hormones that are signaling what needs to happen. And without proper functioning, we've got issues, right? People become overweight and sluggish because they're hypothyroid, or, you know, they're nervous and too skinny and they can't gain weight because they're hyperthyroid. And there's lots of other issues and tons more examples. When we fast, the body is able to balance all of this. It's able to eliminate excess acidity. It's able to bring the body back to a proper pH. It's able to start moving out the old hard material. And we'll come back to that. But it's basically balancing the body in every way.
אוקיי, אז במהלך הצום בעצם הגוף מאזן את עצמו כל פעם מחדש, ואחד הדברים היפים שבעצם לורן בשיחה איתי אמר לי שהוא מאזן הורמונים, ושאלתי אותו איזה הורמונים, תפרט לי, אז הוא אמר הכל, והכל זה כולל אינסולין, זה כולל את הפעילות של בלוטת התריס, בעצם הכל קשור אחד לשני. ברגע שהצום בעצם עוזר לנו לאזן את כל הגוף, ואז על ידי זה שהוא מאזן את ההורמונים, כל המערכות הגוף מתאזנות אחת אחרי השנייה.
So I started talking a little bit about rehydrating old material. And this is a kind of a sensitive subject. I mean, this is a subject that you may not get a lot of agreement on. Back in November, the last time I was in Israel, some of you may have seen me there, I did a keynote speech for Vegan Friendly, and their big event, and it was Dr. Michael Clapper. Michael's an old friend of mine, and he spent 8 years supervising fasts at a facility in California, and he believes that there's no mucoid plaque, there's no old hard material in the body, and yet I've been fasting people now for 23 years. Thousands of people, long fasts. I mean, their fasts tend to be 10 to 11 days on average. Ours tend to be 26 days on average. They tell people to limit the amount of water they drink and to drink when they're thirsty. The average person drinks about 2 liters a day. My clients are typically drinking 5 to 6 liters a day, as much as 3 or more times as much water. Why? Because everyone's walking around with kilos and kilos of old hard material. And if we don't give the body enough time to break it down, that's typically 21 days or more, and enough water to hydrate it, it's not leaving the body. And so Michael believes the stuff doesn't exist because he's never seen it. Even though he's fasted a lot of people, he's never seen it. I see it virtually every single client, thousands of clients, hundreds of times a year for the last 23 years. we see this repeating. So, no one's going to tell me it doesn't exist. It exists. Now, here's the problem. I mean, like, maybe it doesn't matter. Do you care if this stuff is in there? Well, maybe you should care, because if this material is in the body, right, we absorb nutrients through the walls of the intestine. If the walls of the intestine are lined with hard material, how do you absorb nutrients? Now, some of you are thinking, well, hang on, I had a colonoscopy and they said there was nothing there. And that's what they typically say, there's nothing there. Now, I've long hypothesized that the material's not in the large intestine. It's not in the colon. It's in the small intestine. Why? Well, the small intestine is 1/3 the diameter of the large. And so I'm 182 centimeters tall. From the bottom of my stomach to the ileocecal valve, where the small intestine ends and the large starts, on the surface of my body, it's only about 30 centimeters. But within that space, there's some 7-8 meters of small intestine. Okay? Yeah. And the large intestine starts there, and it comes up, and then it comes across the belly, and then it loops and comes down and goes out. And it's about as long as your height. So in my case, my small intestine is say 8 meters long or so, a little longer perhaps. And my large intestine is less than 2 meters long. Okay, it's 20%. In that space, what that means is it's all twists and turns. In 30 centimeters, you've got 8 meters. It's all twists and turns. The large is relatively smooth and straight stuff, and it's much wider. It's this is the diameter of the large intestine. The small is 1/3 the diameter. So things are much more likely to get stuck, and that's where we absorb most of our nutrients, is in the small intestine. The colonoscopy looks only at the colon. They can't see it.
אוקיי, וואו. אוקיי, הרבה מידע. אז כרגע, מה שהוא מדבר, קודם כל הוא היה בארץ בנובמבר, באירוע של ויגן פרנדלי, שהוא היה אירוע מאוד גדול. הוא דיבר על זה שבעצם אנשים צריכים, אנחנו לא מודעים כמה באמת מים אנחנו צריכים לשתות ביום יום שלנו, בלי שום קשר רק לצום, על מנת לנקות את כל החומרים שנמצאים אצלנו בגוף. בעצם, שזה בעצם מגיע מהאוכל, התזונה שלנו. יש את המעי הגס ואת המעי הדק, שאנחנו יודעים שהוא בעצם מסובב ומקופל בגוף שלנו, כמו נחש כזה, הוא מאוד ארוך יותר מהגובה שלנו כמובן, ולכן נתקעים שם הרבה חתיכות של אוכל שהם לא יוצאים ביציאות הטבעיות שלנו. בגלל זה ברגע שאנחנו שותים מים ומזינים את הגוף שלנו במים, כל החומרים האלה, המטריאל, יוצאים ונשטפים מהגוף שלנו.
Okay, so here's the issue. I mean, we've talked about the fact that it makes it harder to absorb nutrients, right? And this is something we see here all the time. Let me explain. We have people who come in because they have a nutrient deficiency. And they're taking supplements, and they stop taking supplements, they begin fasting. And while fasting, while consuming only this beautiful spring water that comes out of the ground right here on site, what happens is the deficiency goes away. It resolves while consuming nothing but water. Okay, so the nutrients, A, must have already been in the body, and B, we've shifted something about how the body is able to use and access those nutrients. And that's what's happening. And that's happening as we remove this nasty garbage from the walls of the small intestine. Okay, but that's only part of the problem. That's only the first part. The second part, I would suggest that the single most critical aspect of maintaining a high level of health, and I don't actually have any idea what you said about me because my Hebrew is pretty rusty. But I can tell just a little bit of my own story. At 23, I graduated from college, and I got very sick 6 months later. Spent 3 years going to doctors, getting worse all the time. Finally realized these guys don't really know what they're talking about, because medicine is only focused on suppressing symptoms. And if health is completely different than suppressing symptoms, right? And so that's when I decided I was going to take it on myself. And I've never been back to a doctor in 36 years, except for trauma. When I cut the artery, I thought maybe having a doctor sew that back together would be a good idea. Okay, for that kind of injury, yes, trauma medicine is amazing. But for dealing with anything else, no, it's pathetic. It doesn't work. It's only suppressing symptoms, and suppressing symptoms makes you feel better, but it makes your body more toxic. It's critically important to understand that symptoms are actually part of the process of cleansing or healing. So suppressing symptoms not only doesn't fix the underlying issue, it makes it worse. It makes your body more toxic. It moves you further away from health. And that's what was happening to me. I was becoming less healthy every month that I worked with doctors. And now in 33 years, I haven't been sick one single day. Not a day. Okay. I still wear the same size clothes I wore in high school. I don't have to work at that. Just by eating normally and paying attention to my body, I stay fit and strong, healthy, lean, clear mentally. I mean, I hear from people all the time in their 20s that they don't have the mental clarity they had, right? We can function at such an amazing level that most people have no idea because they've never experienced it. I mean, tons of energy, tons of energy. And to give you a sense of this, I mean, there are probably people here thinking, yeah, but I couldn't skip a meal. I feel bad if I skip a meal. I've always said the harder it is to skip a meal, the more meals you probably need to skip. Okay, I should probably stop there and let you catch up.
Yes, but it's right. אוקיי, אז שנייה, אני צריכה לעשות את הזה. בעצם הוא סיפר על מישהי שהגיעה למכון שלו, ומגיעים לא מעט אנשים שחלקם בחוסר תזונה, והם בעצם לוקחים תוספים, שברגע כמובן שהם מנקים את הגוף שלהם, כל הדברים האלה יוצאים. אחד הדברים שבעצם כשאנחנו הולכים לרופא ומבקשים ממנו תזונה, אם סובלים ממשהו, והכדורים שנותנים לנו התרופות בעצם לרפא, הם מדכים את הסימפטומים של המחלה, אבל הם לא באמת פותרים את הבעיה. והסימפטומים לפעמים הם חלק מהתהליך של על מנת להירפא. אז ברגע שמדכים את זה, אנחנו לא באמת פותרים את הבעיה, זה כמו כביכול לשים פלסטר. וברגע שאנחנו כן נותנים לגוף שלנו את מה שהוא זקוק לו, שזה בעצם צום כדי לרפא את עצמו, אז זה הריפוי האידיאלי שלו. Yeah, I think I cover.
Okay, all right. I have to trust you. I don't know. Okay, so we can achieve this amazing level of health. Now, what is it that, like, what's the key factor? Obviously, there's lots of factors, right? When I teach, each of the last I've done 3 lecture tours in Israel, and they've always included at least a full day seminar and sometimes a full weekend. I think 2 of the 3 times there have been a full weekend event, right? And I mean, literally, I could speak 3 days without stop and still run out of time to share everything there is to share because there's so much. But I talk about the 7 keys to optimal health, and you have to meet all of them to feel and function as well as you can. But if I had to say there was one piece that was the most important, it's hydration. Okay, we have to stay hydrated. And here's the problem. I mean, over the last 14 and a half years, we have measured more than 5,000 people's hydration levels right here. Okay, more than 5,000 people. You'd be shocked to see how many of those people were well hydrated. Almost none of them. Most people severely dehydrated. And here's the really scary thing. First of all, we're not going to get into this today, but I want to touch on it very, very briefly. People ask about dry fasting. Dry fasting has been a huge fad for the last few years. There are people that are, that will tell you it's 3 times more powerful than water fasting, et cetera, et cetera. I have dry fasted 3 times for 4 days each. I believe in trying myself to check something out, but it wasn't even as powerful, let alone more powerful. Okay, it didn't do anything for me. Now, I was fine, but it wasn't more powerful in any way. Why do people say that it is? Because you go into ketosis faster. Okay, most people, ketosis is where your body is now running on ketones, which are a product of metabolizing fat. So when we're fasting, we start out by using what's in the digestive tract and then going to glycogen reserves in the liver. Glycogen the body converts to glucose. It's looking for sugar because that's our normal fuel. And when the glycogen is gone, what does the body do? Well, it begins to convert muscle. There we are. I forget which way to go. Muscle to sugar. Okay. It converts muscle to sugar, but it doesn't want to do a lot of that. So after about 2.5 days, the average body says, okay, I don't really want to lose any more muscle. There's still no food coming. Now it's time to start going to fat. And as we metabolize fat, we're running on ketones. Okay. And when we're metabolizing fat, we're running on ketones. And one of the byproducts of metabolizing fat is that we make perfect water, pure water. So why does the average person go into ketosis in 1 day instead of 3 days, dry fasting? Because the average body is severely dehydrated and desperately needing water. Okay, but the average body that's severely dehydrated and desperately needing water, which is in trauma because it doesn't have enough water, isn't going to be doing a lot of cleansing and healing. It's simply trying to stay alive. It's trying to keep itself alive. Okay, and so here's what we've noticed. In the last session, we had 2 or 3 young men, there was a woman too, who had all done some extensive dry fasting. They were the most dehydrated people here. That's what happens. Dry fasting dehydrates your body. People feel better because cleansing requires water. Water is the universal transport medium. Whether things are leaving the body through the colon, through the urinary tract, through the skin, through the breath, or through the mucous membranes, everything moves on water. If there's not enough water, there's precious little cleansing or healing happening. People feel better because they suppress symptoms. Okay?
אוקיי. אז בעצם לורן ניסה לעשות לפני כמה זמן צום של 4 ימים, שזה היה צום שגם לא לשתות. בעצם זה לא היה משהו שהועיל לו כמו שהוא עושה את הצומות של המים, כי המים בעצם מחיים אותנו. ברגע שאנחנו שותים את המים, לא משנה מה, המים עוברים לנו, אם זה יוצאים, נפלטים מהגוף שלנו, וגם בגלל זה חשוב להאכיל את הגוף שלנו, שהוא תמיד יהיה רווי במים, ולא יהיה לנו חוסרים. אז במהלך הצום, בעצם הצום הכללי שלו, שכלל הצום גם בלי מים, הוא הרגיש מאוד יבש ולא חיוני, וככה גם הוא עשה ניסוי עם עוד 2 משתתפים שהיו לו בקבוצה, והם גם הרגישו שהם בתקופה הזאת היו היה להם חוסר במים בעצם בגוף.
Okay, so this is an aspect of dry fasting, and there's actually 2 studies that show, but look how well it does eliminating mucus, excess mucus from the body, and eliminating swelling, where there's swelling in the body, there's an injury, and right? Why does it eliminate these things so much more effectively than anything else? Because mucus is made of water. Because where there's swelling, there's water. The body's bringing more liquid to the joint to help it heal faster. When we dry fast, the body can't afford to do that. And so the symptoms go away, but we haven't healed anything. Okay, these people come to me with extensive dry fasting, and as soon as they rehydrate their body, all the symptoms are still present. They were walking around severely dehydrated, feeling better because they didn't have symptoms, but actually much worse off than they were before. Okay, so even we come back to water only fasting. What we're hoping to do is a lot of things, but part of it, as I started to talk about, was to eliminate all this old material. Until we eliminate it, as long as it's sitting in the intestinal tract, every time you eat food and drink water, it's absorbing some water, and we never get hydrated. And this is why, even if you're eating optimally, right? So there's been a trend over the last 3 or 4 years, I've seen more and more people living on a fruit-based diet. And I live on a fruit-based diet. That's the best you can do. But people who live on a fruit-based diet and don't drink any water because they think they're getting all the water they need from their food, okay? Those people, after the dry fasters, they're the most dehydrated people we see. They're more dehydrated than people who come here living on junk food, because at least the people living on junk food are drinking beverages. They're getting some hydration into their body that way as well.
אוקיי, אחד הדברים שבאמת לורן גם קצת שבר לי את הסטיגמה כשדיברתי איתו לפני כן, זה בעצם אנשים גם שאנחנו בעצם אימצנו את אורח החיים הפירוטני ואוכלים הרבה פירות וירקות, בדרך כלל אנחנו מרגישים שאין לנו צורך בעצם לשתות את המים, וכאן הוא אומר שזה הבעיה, שבהם בעצם אנחנו כן צריכים לשתות את המים, כי המים זה בעצם, זה תמיד יהיה חסר לנו אם אנחנו לא נצרוך אותם במצבם הטבעי.
Okay, you're very welcome. So here's the thing, right? I hope you're able to connect the dots. I hope it's making sense. But getting fully hydrated is critically important, because I believe one of the reasons that I've been able to stay so healthy and never need to get sick. Getting sick is what? It's your body detoxifying. Why does that not happen to me? It's because my body's detoxifying in real time on a constant basis. It's able to do that. How? Because I'm fully hydrated. And this is the reason why, I don't know how well you can see me, but I'm 59 years old and there's no wrinkles, right? And I see people all the time who are my age that have lots of wrinkles. Why? Why are those wrinkles there? Well, I talked earlier about aging, youthing, right? Those wrinkles are the effect of the loss of elasticity because of chronic dehydration. Now, medicine thinks that it involves other issues, other things, chemicals, etc. You know what? Your body's not producing what it needs to because it's dehydrated, okay? And because having elastic skin, that's a luxury. It's not necessary to survive to have elastic skin. If your skin is completely dry, I mean, there are people, even babies who have terrible skin conditions where their skin is always dry. They can still live that way a full life. That doesn't prevent them. It makes them uncomfortable, okay, but they can survive. So when the body is trying to survive and it's got to decide between, two options, it's going to do whatever it needs to do to survive. It's not going to do the things that are optional. So if the average person, our calculations here are that the average person is walking around roughly 15% the average person we see, by the way, which is not the average person out there. The average person out there makes much poorer choices. The average person we see is walking around roughly 15% dehydrated all the time. So imagine if every single day your body had 15% less water available to do everything it needed to do. How would that affect you? Do you think your body would make 15% less blood? Blood's mostly water. Would there be 15% less blood? I don't think so. I think the body is intelligent enough to know that blood is critically important, that your heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, brain, pancreas, thyroid are all going to get what they need because they're all vital organs. But where's that water going to come from if the system doesn't have enough? Well, it's going to come from those places that are not vital, that are not critical to your survival. So in addition to skin, your eyes. Your eyes are balls of jelly. Okay, they're made of water. Okay, most people over 50 or 60, their vision starts to go down, and the number one cause, age-related cause of vision loss is called macular degeneration. It's a deformation of the eye. The body is taking water from the eye because there are other things more important. Same reason it's taking water from the skin, from the discs in your back. People shrink as they get older. I see even people my age who are an inch shorter than they used to be. I'm just as tall as I ever was. Okay? That happens because the discs are essentially bags of water that are there to cushion the vertebra. And that's really useful and we feel better and function better, but it's not critical to survival. Same is true with joints. Okay, older people often have arthritis, and arthritis occurs because the cartilage and synovial fluid, which allow one bone to move against the other one, they disappear with dehydration. Okay. Here's the cool thing. Each of these things is something that we can fix. If someone fasts long enough and properly and then makes excellent choices, we've resolved all these things. We've resolved vision loss. We've had people regain beautiful, elastic, healthy, younger looking skin. We have people eliminate their arthritis almost every single time. We have people regain lost height. All of these things can occur if we're willing to do what we need to do.
Wow. Wow. I have a lot of to-do lists to do now. Drinking water is one of them.
And sipping. I've been modeling for you throughout this, right? You need to take little tiny sips throughout the day. You don't drink a lot at one time because it runs right through you if you do that. You don't get any benefit from it. So a little bit. That's it. Just a little bit at a time.
אוקיי, כן, אז הנושא בעצם שהרבה אנחנו מדברים על זה, במקום בעצם להזריק בוטוקס, אנחנו תמיד שומעים ויודעים שבעצם לשתות מים זה הפתרון הכי טוב לעשות, וכמה שקשה לנו, יש פה עוד כמה דברים שלורן נתן, ואני אוהבת תמיד לחשוב על הלוג'יק מאחורי כל עניין שאני לומדת, אז בעצם ברגע שאנחנו לא שותים את המים, שלא שותים מספיק מים והגוף שלנו עדיין צריך אותו והוא זקוק לו, הוא לוקח בעצם מהאיברים שפחות חיוניים, אז הוא לא לוקח את זה מהכבד, הוא לא לוקח את זה מהלב או מהדם שלנו, הוא לוקח את זה ממקומות שכן פחות חשובים, שזה לדוגמה האור או אפילו העיניים, הוא נתן דוגמה, בגלל זה אנשים מבוגרים מאבדים את הראייה יותר, ברגע שאנחנו לא שותים כל כך הרבה מים, לא נותנים לגוף שלנו בעצם את מה שהוא באמת כל כך זקוק לו, וגם בגלל זה נוצרים לנו קמטים. הכל אפשר עדיין לתקן, זה לא שאם זה נעשה, כמובן שצריך לעשות בדרך הנכונה, שהוא ממליץ פה שוב פעם על צום של מים, הוא גם נתן דוגמה מאוד חזקה לדעתי, שאנשים, אנחנו רואים אנשים שהם מתנמכים עם הגיל שלהם, וזה בגלל שבעצם החוליות של הגב שלנו, ברגע שאנחנו לא שותים מים, אז החיבור בין החוליות הוא מתקטן, ולכן אנחנו מתנמכים. אותו דבר גם עם השרירים שלנו, אנחנו רואים הרבה אנשים שחולים ויש להם, לא חולים, מרגישים לא טוב, יש להם סכסוך בין שכחתי את המילה הזאת, בין החוליות שלהם בידיים או ברגליים, זה גם נובע מחוסר שתייה של מים, אבל הכל אפשר לשנות ואפשר ברגע שנתחיל לעשות את זה כמו שצריך ולצרוך הרבה יותר מים. אני הולכת לעשות את זה. Thank you, Lorraine. Go ahead.
Okay. So, this is such a critically important subject, and what we found so far, measuring thousands of people now, is that only fasting allows the body to eliminate the garbage and get fully hydrated. Everything shifts by removing this garbage, both the garbage in the intestinal tract, as well as toxins throughout the body, mostly in fatty tissue, but also stored in muscles, stored in organs, by giving the body the chance to heal itself, to heal anything that's been damaged. I mean, I've actually fasted 2 groups of blind people and have seen every single person see significant improvements in their vision. Now, I mean, they may still not be perfectly fine, but we had one woman who was legally blind, could, from 2 meters away, could see there was an object in front of her, now drives a car without wearing glasses, doesn't need glasses.
Wow.
She hits a lot of stuff, but no, she doesn't.
Wow. לורן בעצם עשה תוכנית של צומות עם אנשים חסרי יכולת בראייה, עיוורים, ובאמת הוא אומר שבמהלך כל הצום הזה, תקופת הצום, הוא בעצם אנשים התחילו לראות תוצאות, הם לא רואים 100%, הם לא רואים עדיין, אבל הם כן רואים שינויים, אם זה צללים או דברים כאלה.
So it's important, folks, to understand something. A lot of people think that they can fast, get the body clean, and then they can just go back to living their normal life. And you can do that, but you want to understand something. The issues that we develop, right? I developed issues by 23. It put me on this path. I got very, very sick at 23 because I was an overachiever. I was trying hard to make my body toxic and dehydrated. And by 23, I had succeeded in accomplishing that. In all the years since then, I mean, that was the first 23 years. I've now had an additional 36 years, much longer time, and I'm functioning without ever getting sick, feeling amazing all the time, something I didn't do when I was a teenager. How is that? That's because I've gotten the garbage out of my body and I keep it out of my body. Okay. The key is to continue making excellent choices. To continue making excellent choices, because getting the body, I mean, there are people who detox every year. They do a detox, and then they go back and they do a retox, right?
Exactly. How often you are doing the fasting, and for how long?
Well, it's a great question. In my case, I did a lot of fasting early on because I didn't know. I mean, if you can imagine this, and some of you, Liraz, you too, probably might have a hard time remembering the old days, but I started fasting more than 30 years ago. There was no internet. There was no, what are we on? What's this platform called?
StreamYard, Facebook.
StreamYard. There was no StreamYard. There was no Facebook. There was no YouTube. There was no Google. These things didn't exist. We didn't have email addresses, let alone anything else. There was nothing. And so I didn't know there were places. There were actually more places then than there are now that one could go and do a supervised fast. But I wasn't aware of that. I had a book by a guy who'd been dead for 75 years. And so I read this book, and he was talking about going weeks without food. And I thought, that sounds crazy. And, I mean, it made sense, but it also was a little scary. And I was by myself. So I'd fasted one day. I'd fasted Yom Kippur growing up every year. Most years anyway. Every once in a while, my sisters and I snuck off the donut shop while we were supposed to be fasting. But I'd never gone more than one day. And so after I read about this, and it made perfect sense to me, and I by the way, I've been juice fasting before that. My longest juice fast was 120 days. And then I did a week on water. And I thought, oh my God, I'll never touch juices again. It was like the water, a week on water was 100 times more powerful than 4 months drinking juices. So it's because juices are food. They're unnatural food, but they contain calories and nutrients.
Right.
Water only fasting, there's nothing like it. In fact, probably everybody here is familiar with Hippocrates, the Greek physician, who is famous for 2 quotes. The one probably everybody knows is, let your food be your medicine, and your medicine your food. But Liraz, do you know what he said next? His next words were?
What?
Almost nobody knows. The very next words out of his mouth were, so I'll say it again. He said, let your food be your medicine, and your medicine your food. But to feed yourself when you're already sick is to feed your sickness.
Wow.
He fasted most of his patients. That's what people did back then. That's how we got well. We didn't have the pharmaceutical industry back then. There was herbs, there were herbalists, there were people that recommended herbs, but understand that just like the drugs that came from herbs originally, all these things can do, all medicinal substances can do is suppress symptoms. Remember that, okay? The body is self-healing. There's no substance, no herb, no drug, no anything that can heal you. The body cleanses and heals itself when it has the chance. Fasting is so incredibly powerful when it's done properly. Okay, and this is critically important because honestly, there are people out there, young people who fasted once or twice, who are offering themselves as fasting supervisors. Personally, it's crazy to do that. I had 2 years of training, okay, by physicians who were trained and authorized, certified to teach other people before I started fasting people. Okay, you really need to know what you're doing, but done properly, there's nothing more powerful because we're simply getting out of our amazing body's way. We're giving them the conditions and the opportunity they need to cleanse and heal as efficiently and as effectively as possible. It's not doing anything to us except getting out of the body's way. And when we get out of the body's way, it's amazing what the body can do. But until we do that, if we don't clean out the garbage that we've been bringing in for decades, okay, as well as the garbage we're creating inside the body, because every cell is like an organism. So it has to feed, it has to process that food, it has to eliminate waste. The average body is so toxic, that it's unable to eliminate cellular waste products very efficiently. And so they build up in the system and the body doesn't function well. Okay. If you want to feel and function amazingly well, I actually guarantee that to my clients, that if they can follow my coaching, which is simple, it's very straightforward and very simple. If they're willing to do what I ask them to do, they will leave my process with me, whether it's via Skype or it's here at the center. They'll complete the process feeling and functioning better than they ever have in most cases, because our bodies are capable of feeling and functioning amazingly well when we give them the conditions and opportunity.
Right. Wow. Okay. So, אז בעצם אחד העקרונות החשובים, כשעשינו את הצום, הגוף שלנו מתחיל ככה לרפא את עצמו, ותמיד יש את השאלה, זה נשמר, אז בעצם הכל תלוי בנו. השאלה לאיפה אנחנו רוצים לחזור, למצב הקודם, לאכול לתזונה הקודמת שלנו, לאכול את מה שהיה, ואז זה כמו, אני קוראת לזה, אחטא ואשוב, אחטא ואשוב. בסדר, עשיתי את הניקוי, חוזרת למקום שהגעתי ממנו. אז בעצם על מנת שהצום יהיה נכון והתזונה תהיה נכונה, אנחנו צריכים לשמור על זה, על בריאות. אני רואה את זה כמקפצה, ברגע שאנחנו מתחילים גם עם הצום של ה-16 יום, של ה-16 שעות לדוגמה, אז לעשות את זה כמקפצה ובאמת להתחיל לצבור את האורח חיים הבריא שלנו. וכמו שלורן אמר, וגם פה הוא שוב פעם חזר ואמר על זה כמה פעמים, שאנחנו צריכים לתת לגוף שלנו את היכולת בעצם לרפא את עצמו. ויש את המשפט שאומר, יהיו מזונותיך תרופותיך ותרופותיך מזונותיך, זה באמת מה שהגוף צריך לתת. אבל בנוסף לזה, ברגע שאנחנו נותנים, הגוף שלנו אוכל דברים תוך כדי שהוא חולה, אנחנו צריכים להפסיק ולתת לו באמת את הצום, על מנת שהוא יתחיל להחלים את עצמו. Great. Lauren, I'm thinking maybe we'll go for questions to see, because I see we're running out of time and there is so many questions here. So let me see. Give me a second.
Sure. I'll wait right here. I'll be right here if you need me.
Thank you. Okay, so when you spoke about water, there is any kind of water, there is a filter, something that you can recommend to everyone? And also the second question, it's what amount of water that average people, let's say I'm not a drinker, I don't like to drink water, obviously, maybe 2 cups a day, and even though, yeah, I know. So what is the right amount for me to feel good? I know I need to do it step by step. I cannot take now 5 liters of water and to decide to drink. So what is the right amount? How can I know what is right for me and to feel better as well?
To be honest with you, the only way to know is to properly interpret daily vital signs, something that no doctor understands. This isn't something they teach doctors in medical school. They don't understand how hydration affects these numbers. So it's difficult for the average person. Now, I mean, if you're talking about fasting, frankly, fasting without experienced guidance makes no sense. It's dangerous. It's harmful. I get messages almost every day from someone asking me for help because they fasted on their own and created a problem. And 2 weeks ago, I did a consultation, a 1-hour call with a woman who wanted to understand why her husband, who fasted last year on his own, died while doing it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to know what you're doing. So fasting, you're going to need someone who really understands the process to guide you through it. And, look, folks, honestly, if you come to me, it's an investment. It's not super cheap, but you're worth it. Your health is worth it. And you're going to feel and function. I mean, most people say it's the best investment they ever made. So I know it's not easy. Now, if you talk about not fasting, again, it differs from person to person. My belief, my experience is that most people probably need between 3 and 4 liters a day if they're eating optimally in addition to their food until they get their body clean. Now, I don't drink 2 liters a week, per week. And I'm talking about 3 or 4 per day. Okay. Once you get your body fully hydrated, if you're eating optimally, I mean, here we don't have an oven. We don't have a stove. There's no grill. There's no dehydrator. Okay. right through this wall over here is our commercial kitchen, where there's probably 100 kilos of watermelon right now, and 30 or 40 kilos of papayas, and 10 or 15 kilos of pineapples, and 20 kilos of mangoes, and I don't know how many kilos of bananas. And it's all natural food with all of its perfect water intact. And if, once your body's clean, as well as lettuce and tomatoes and cucumbers and all things that are high in water. So once the body's clean, once it's clean, if you're eating optimally, getting enough water is easy because you'll need much less. Okay, eventually, once your body's truly clean, and that typically takes 3 or 4 fasts. I started to say, you asked me an earlier question, I fast anymore only when I have an injury to heal. I don't need to fast to cleanse my body. My body cleanses on a regular basis, on an ongoing basis in real time. Never feel the need to fast to detoxify. When I do fast, I feel great. I feel normal. I don't feel weak or tired. Most people do because of the toxicity in their bloodstream. Okay? So there's the first part. You want to try that?
Yes. אוקיי, קודם כל, לא לנסות לעשות צומים של מים ללא השגחה וידע כמובן, זה דבר שבאמת הגוף שלנו צריך את זה, אנחנו צריכים את הידע, אנחנו צריכים אנשים שמתמחים לזה, זה דבר ראשון. דבר שני הוא אומר לגבי הצומות של המים, לגבי השתייה של המים ששאלתי, בעצם אנחנו צריכים לדעת לעשות את זה מבוקר, לשתות כמו שצריך, לפי מה שהגוף שלנו מרגיש. אין לזה בעצם amount של כמה אנחנו צריכים, כמות של שתייה שאנחנו צריכים לדעת כמה לשתות. כמובן שזה קשור גם בתזונה שלנו. אם התזונה שלנו היא פירוטנית, אז אנחנו גם שותים, זאת אומרת, מקבלים עדיין ויטמינים ומינרלים באמצעות הפירות שלנו. Okay, what do you think about coconut fasting? Can you concern it as water fasting or no?
No, coconuts contain food, not water. Okay, I mean, coconut water is a high percentage of water, but they also contain fats and proteins and carbohydrates, sugar, nutrients. It's not a fast. I mean, you can live on coconuts forever. Coconut water, you could live on it. Okay, now it wouldn't be a good idea to do that, but you could try. The problem is that while coconut water contains lots of electrolytes, which, I mean, again, if you're taking in anything besides water, added electrolytes, you're not fasting. You can't add salt. You can't add these added electrolytes. The amount of electrolytes that naturally occur in spring water, that's fine. But as soon as you add anything to it, it takes you out of fasting physiology. So coconut water is food. It's not water. Okay, and that's the reason why, we have coconuts here, tons of them, but I rarely consume them because I only consume 1 or 2 meals a day, and I don't typically want to drink coconut water as my meal, and I don't consume anything between meals except water. You can't use coconut water. If you're consuming coconut water between meals, your digestive tract is constantly functioning. Your body is constantly absorbing nutrients, constantly having to expel things. It's working to do that. Okay, it makes sense to do it only when you need to. So drinking coconut water is not fasting. And because although it contains lots of electrolytes, it contains far more potassium than sodium. And that tends to imbalance your electrolytes.
אוקיי, אז בעצם ברמת העיקרון צום של קוקוסים לא נחשב צום. ברגע שאנחנו שותים את המים של הקוקוס, יש בו בעצם יש בו סוכר ויש בו את המלחים, ובעצם ברגע שאנחנו שותים את זה, אז נגמר פה הצום. בגלל זה גם בין ארוחות, ברגע שאנחנו שותים את הקוקוס, אז אנחנו נותנים לגוף שלנו עדיין להמשיך לעבוד. לכן בין ארוחות חשוב לשתות באמת מים ולא מי קוקוס. מי קוקוס אפשר סתם רעיון שלי בשייקים וגם כמובן בבוקר. What do you think about diabetes? People who are suffering from diabetes, it's okay for them to fasting, because I know fasting for diabetes, this is what I know, it's make them hypo and then going down.
Yeah, I have fasted probably 20 type 1 diabetics. Mm-hmm. And more than 80 type 2 diabetics. Type 2 diabetes is no problem at all. Type 2 is insulin resistant diabetes. This is where the pancreas is still producing the insulin the body needs, but the body is resistant to it. It doesn't work very well. And this often happens as a result of excess fat. So type 2 diabetes is more than 90% correlated to obesity. Okay. Type 2 diabetes is easy. We have 100% success. Type 1 diabetes is much more challenging. And yet I fasted 20 type 1 diabetics. They're fine. I mean, type 1 diabetics can definitely fast. Their bodies don't produce enough insulin. And if they've been using insulin for years, it's very unlikely that that's going to change, okay? Because the body becomes dependent on a crutch. So if they've been using this artificial hormone for years to replace the insulin their body's not producing, it's unlikely that the pancreas is going to be able to change that. And that means that they're probably going to need to keep taking insulin for the rest of their life. But what we've seen is that our clients, our type 1 diabetic clients, can usually reduce their insulin by around 75%.
Wow.
Which is amazing, because when in a healthy body, my body produces the insulin when I need it, just in the same way it produces testosterone and estrogen and thyroid hormones, all these in real time whenever the body needs it. But someone who's taking a hormone like insulin, they take it, and then, in fact, I'll give you an example. I have a volunteer, the woman who makes my videos. Many of you know me through my YouTube channel. And the woman who produces the videos for me, does all the editing, etc. Beautiful work. She's a type 1 diabetic. She's fasted with me 3 times, by the way, and perfectly fine. And she now needs much less insulin than most people like her would need. The other day, we watched a movie together as a group, the volunteers and I, and at the end it was pretty late. She wouldn't normally be eating. She goes in the kitchen. And I was bringing the TV, and I was like, what's up? She's like, well, I took too much insulin. Now, your body doesn't secrete too much insulin. Your body is incredibly intelligent. So if your body is working well, it's going to secrete what it needs to, okay? But she consumed a little too much. Her blood sugar had dropped quite a bit. Now she needed to eat something with sugar. She needed to eat some fruit to bring her sugar back up, okay? What we see with type 1 diabetics is they have to stay on top of it. They have to measure it throughout the day like they normally would. 3, 4, 5 times a day, they measure their blood sugar. They use less insulin than they normally would, because we don't want to create the same situation that happened to her. What we want to do is we want to make sure, I mean, it's one thing, if your blood sugar is too high, you can always take a little more insulin. If it's too low, you're going to have to eat something. So because we don't want them to have to break their fast prematurely, what we do is we monitor blood sugar, and then they take insulin a little bit less than they normally would. And because they're not eating, they normally need less anyway. But they take less, and if the blood sugar starts to go up, they just take a little more. Okay, as long as they do this intelligently, it's no problem. There's no danger, and when they're done, their body usually works much better. They may not be completely healed, because again, that may not happen, especially if they've been years, many years taking insulin. It's going to be hard to get off of it, but usually they're able to heal dramatically.
And what's happened after the fasting? They need to go back to the insulin, or the body just if they keep for the good nutrition?
They need to continue. Most of them need to continue using insulin. So they're taking insulin before the fast. They're taking insulin while fasting, and they continue taking insulin afterward. Okay, but let me give you an example. About 4 years ago, I think, I had an Israeli client here. She was in her early 50s. She was a type 1 diabetic, but she'd never used insulin. So you guys use a different scale than we do, but the scale that we use here, healthy blood sugar is between 70 and 100. Okay, so says the medical people. I believe it should be between 60 and 90, but they say between 70 and 100. Her blood sugar when she got here was around 300 every day.
Wow.
Very, very high.
Wow.
Okay, very high. Now you keep walking around with that much sugar in your bloodstream. What happens eventually is you go blind, you lose your feet, and then your legs. The body can't handle that much sugar. It causes all kinds of problems. So she fasted. She was going to fast 30 days. That was my recommendation. She only made it to 21. She was vomiting repeatedly. Now, this does not happen to most people, but it can. It happens maybe 1 out of every 50 people, 30 to 50 people, where someone will vomit like this repetitively. So after 2 weeks of that, I said, I think you should stop. Because what happens when you're vomiting, you're losing electrolytes. So I wanted to keep her safe and suggested she break the fast early at 21 days. She had plenty of reserves and could have kept going, okay? She broke her fast. Now, by the time she broke her fast, her blood sugar was down from around 300 to around 160.
Wow.
We'd practically cut it in half. She begins refeeding, eating only fruit, watermelon, papaya, coconut water, which is hard because it's pretty sweet. It's got a lot of sugar. So maybe not so much coconut water, mangoes, pineapples, and then other things depending on the season. And what happens? Every day, her blood sugar goes lower while eating fruit. Wow. So there are people listening right now that have been told they have to stay away from fruit because they're diabetic. No, you don't have to do that. You have to eat it properly. You have to know what you're doing. Okay? But there's no reason you can't eat fruit as a diabetic.
אוקיי, אז בעצם שאלתי אותו לגבי אנשים סוכרתיים. הוא הנחה 80 אנשים עם סוכרת טייפ 2, אחת ביניהם ישראלית. הוא סיפר על שהיא הייתה בקבוצה שלו והיא לא הרגישה טוב אחרי היום ה-21, הוא ביקש ממנה כמובן להפסיק את הצום, אבל אז היא אכלה פירות. אני יודעת שהרבה אנשים תמיד חרדתיים לגבי פירות בזמן של הסוכרת, אז כאן ירד להרמה של הסוכר מ-300 ל-160 במהלך הצום, ואחר כך זה כל יום ממשיך לרדת. אז קודם כל הסטיגמה שאסור לאכול פירות לאנשים סוכרתיים, האנשים סוכרתיים יכולים לאכול פירות כאשר התזונה היא טובה ונכונה. שוב פעם, חשוב שהכל יהיה בפיקוח וליד בן אדם שמתמצא. Lauren, I think we'll take one more question. It's quite late. Watermelon. So watermelon, most of that, it's we know that it's contain a lot of water. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's good detox to do it for a week? I know it's not going to be like a water fasting, obviously, right. But what do you think about it?
Yeah, so it's a great question. First of all, it's important to understand that anytime there's any calories or nutrients, you're not fasting. So eating watermelon is amazing, but it's not fasting. Perfectly okay. I wouldn't call it a watermelon fast. I would just call it eating watermelon, okay, because it's not really fasting. But anytime you lighten up your diet, so our bodies, our amazing bodies, are always attempting to cleanse and heal. And if we make our diet lighter and simpler than it was, whole foods always being best, but if we stick with whole foods and we make it lighter and simpler, so watermelon for most people is lighter than what they normally do if they just eat watermelon, their bodies are definitely going to be able to cleanse and heal more than they normally would. Much less than when fasting, but more than normal. So that's perfectly fine. Now, I would say there's a limit to how long anybody should consume only one food. Okay? Watermelon's amazing. It's my favorite fruit of all. I eat watermelon probably 5 times a week for the last 15 years. I've lived in the tropics. I eat it all the time. It's available 12 months of the year here, and it's usually delicious. But you don't want to eat any one food for more than, maybe 5 to 7 days is okay. Beyond that, if you're eating only one thing, you're going to create an imbalance. And in fact, I have another kitty here. This is Chai. He's a little calmer than Ash is. Hey, buddy. Hello, buddy boy. So years ago, I had an intern working with me, a young woman, and we were in the U.S. at the time, outside of Washington, D.C., and she only wanted to eat watermelon for 3 months. And I kept telling her, you're going to wind up with deficiencies. And she did. It doesn't, you can't eat just one thing. Now, a week is going to be okay. But, beyond that, you're better off choosing a variety of different fruits that are all high in water content. So watermelon's great, one of the best. You could eat cantaloupe and other melons. You could eat citrus. You know, you have amazing pomelos in Israel, oranges. These are all high in water as well. Papayas, which I think are only available there for some months of the year. Here we have them all year long too. But they're also very high in water. So, better to do now one fruit at a time, one fruit per meal, but maybe, and if you want, you could even do one meal that was one day that was just watermelon and one day that's just papaya. But I would say most people would be better off doing a combination of different fruits because each fruit has different nutrients and you're going to be better off that way.
אוקיי, אז לגבי הצום של האבטיח שהיה רשום פה, בעצם אבטיח הוא מעולה והוא טוב, הוא בכלל אומר שכל פרי שלוקחים ועושים, אפשר לעשות איתו צום לשבוע, כמובן שזה לא יהיה האפקט, הבנפיט שאנחנו מקבלים לא יהיה כמו המים, אבל עדיין אנחנו נראים בזה תהליכים טובים. אבטיח הוא פרי מעולה, שכמובן זה קשור גם לכל הווטרמלון. Can I include watermelon and melon in the same meal and think like a fasting? No?
Only one type at a time.
Okay.
That's what's best. It's always best to eat mono meals. And for coming up on 29 years, most of my meals are one thing.
Okay. Wow. Okay. אז בעצם לקחת סוג של אבטיח או מלון ולעשות מזה עד 5 ימים. עד שבוע, כי אחרי זה בעצם יכול גם לפגוע בנו, גם אנחנו רוצים לשנות ולגוון, וזהו ברמת העיקרון. Lauren, I want to thank you. It was pleasure having you here and in our Jewish Israeli community. I hope to see you in Israel, but definitely I will come to Costa Rica very soon. It's on my plan, and to come to your resorts, of course. And that's it.
Toda Rabba. It's been a pleasure being with you.
Toda lecha. Toda, Loren. Bye.
Bye-bye.